So we are starting chapter 20 today. Keep in mind that this is the final chapter for the open economy portion of the course. And right after this, we have the second quiz, which will focus on effectively chapter 17 to 20. That's the open economy. So prepare accordingly. But let's focus on chapter 24 right now. So the good news is that in chapter 20, I'm not going to be doing anything new. Like I'm not going to introduce any new theories or equations or models or nothing like that. Okay. What we are going to do is consider the things we have already learned in the first three chapters of this of open economics. That's chapter 17, 18, and 19. And we're going to sort of try and push our analysis a bit far. Okay. So the first thing that we will do is we are going to move from short run to medium run. So remember, everything that we've done so far has focused on the short run. So now we're going to move on to the medium run and excuse me, and see what implications that has for the exchange rate. Now we are going to look at a sort of exchange rate crisis that might arise. This is specifically for countries following fixed exchange rate regimes. Then we are going to look at exchange rate volatility. Of course, the moment I mentioned volatility, you guys know that we are not talking about fixed exchange rate regimes because exchange rate is moving around. So this is going to be about flexible exchange rate. And then we're going to end with a final assessment where we try to talk about which regime is better. Is it fixed? Is it flexible? If one is bad, is it always bad? Or can there be some situations where one is better than the other? Things like that. So let's start with the first one, of course. So what we are going to do is we're going to talk about moving from short run to the medium run. Okay. So remember what we have already learned in Eco 207, specifically in chapter 3, 4, 5, and 6, which was the short run chapters of the same book, is that in the short run, our assumption is that price is fixed. By price, of course, I mean the price index, which is fixed. It's not going to move around. And then later on, when we went to the medium run chapters, that was chapter 7, 8, 9. Was 10 included? 7, 8, 9, maybe 10, I don't remember. So in the medium run, we saw that price can adjust. So medium run was the chapters when we took a look at effectively Phillips curve, and we derived the IS-LM-PC model. If you don't remember, please go back and revise because we will be talking about the Phillips curve in this chapter. So it's important that you remember what they are. Okay. Now here's the thing. If we have a flexible exchange rate regime, which means that the country allows its exchange rate to fluctuate, to fall, rise, whatever it may be. And of course, in Bangladesh, we do follow a flexible exchange rate. Value of taka with respect to, let's say, dollar, for example, goes up, goes down, it fluctuates. And of course, you guys should remember this equation. P divided by P star. And of course, this is the real exchange rate. This is the nominal exchange rate. This is price, domestic price index. And this down here is the foreign price index. Okay. Now, when we have a flexible exchange rate, what happens is that this and this can move together. So even in the short run, when we are assuming that the prices are fixed, if the nominal exchange rate change, the real exchange rate can change with it, right? So it's not a problem. We have a flexible setup where even in the short, in the long, medium run, of course, prices can change. But even in the short run, where the prices are not changing, since we have a flexible exchange rate regime, when one change, the other can change as well. Problem is, when we have a fixed exchange rate regime, okay, what we see is that, of course, in the short run, this is fixed. This is not going to change. Now, what the government wants to do is they want to hold this as constant because we have a fixed exchange rate. So suppose if the Bangladesh government ever says that $1 is going to be equal to 80 taka, and it cannot go up, it cannot go down, it's fixed, then we want to hold this fixed. We want to hold this as constant. So you see, the problem is that in the short run, this is fixed, which means that this, the real exchange rate, also has to be fixed. This cannot fluctuate, and that's the problem. Okay, and we've talked about this at the end of chapter 19 when we said that whenever a country goes to follow a fixed exchange rate, what they have to do is that they cannot use monetary policy anymore, because of course, remember the interest rate parity condition, which gave us this minus ET divided by ET. Now, if we want to hold our exchange rate as constant, we cannot change our interest rate either, which means that the country is effectively giving up control of its monetary policy to hold a fixed exchange rate. And that seemed to us like a big problem. And it is actually a big problem, is that to maintain this pegging the value of taka to dollar, we are effectively giving up complete control of our monetary policy. Okay, so of course, this is a bad thing. This is quite a bad thing, of course, but there is one thing that you need to consider, is that this is only a bad thing in the short run. In the medium run, prices are no longer fixed. So what you guys need to realize is that in the short run, this may be, sorry, not this, this is always fixed. In the short run, the real exchange rate may be fixed. We cannot change that. But in the medium run, when prices can adjust, the exchange rate can change. So the takeaway that you guys need to have from here is that, hold on, let me write this down so that you guys. So in the medium run, the exchange rate, the real exchange rate, and output reaches the same level under both fixed and flexible exchange rate regimes. This is an important relationship to keep in mind, is that the problems with real exchange rate not adjusting is only a problem in the short run when prices are fixed. And of course, the government has fixed the exchange rate, the nominal exchange rate. And as a result, the real exchange rate cannot adjust. But this is not a problem in the medium run when we allow the price to adjust. Okay, but also keep in mind that this does not mean that we have nothing to worry about. Of course, in the medium run, that would mean that, I mean, there's an adjustment period, and like this, I'll just write this down. This adjustment may take a long time. And during this period of adjustment, what might happen is that output will stay low and unemployment will stay high for longer than necessary. So this is the important takeaway, is that under both flexible and fixed exchange rate regime, ultimately, we will arrive at a point where both countries, or let's say the same country, if it were using either flexible or fixed exchange rate, will arrive at the same level of output, same level of unemployment, same level of inflation. Everything will be the same. The difference is that under the flexible exchange rate regime, where the nominal exchange rate will adjust quickly, this will happen in the short run. For a fixed exchange regime, where the nominal exchange rate is fixed, we have to wait to get into the medium run where the price can adjust. Okay, so it takes time. We will arrive at the same place, but because fixed exchange regime will take longer to adjust, output will remain lower, unemployment will remain higher for longer than necessary. And that's the problem. Okay, so now, of course, I keep talking about adjustment. In the next video, let's actually take a look at how this adjustment takes place. Okay, I've talked about the theory. The theory is that we arrive at the same place. One takes longer than the other. Next video, let's take a look at the adjustment and how that happens.